On Afghanistan, are you saying that the combination of Karzai criticizing and trying to limit our mission and the cost factor in our U.S. budget, our debt, that we should reconsider our commitment, how long and how and what a footprint we have in Afghanistan?
With putting faith in General Petraeus as he lines out a timeline for the American public to understand, yes, those two factors, Chris, that you mentioned have got to be considered and reevaluated. A, the host nation's ability to understand what it is that we're trying to do for them and with them in their nation, and the cost of war. 3 wars that we're engaged in today, and our country nearing bankruptcy. We have to rethink everything that we're doing with foreign aid and with foreign intervention. We have got to make sure that it's America's interest first being met in each one of these nations. And if there is an opportunity to, say, in Afghanistan, with General Petraeus' guidance, to back out a little bit, perhaps sooner than we had because of these conditions that have changed most recently, then I would support that.
Let's get to your bus trip and to 2012. And I'm going to ask you the question everybody has asked me when they heard you were going to be on the program. What are you up to?
Oh, man, it seems like I've answered this question a million times in the last week, and folks still, I guess, aren't understanding it. At least reporters don't seem to be understanding it. Even your own Shep Smith there on Fox News, he announced the other day that I was on some publicity tour. I wanted to say, Shep, take it one step further. What am I publicizing on this tour? I'm publicizing Americana and our foundation and how important it is that we learn about our past and our challenges and victories throughout American history so that we can successfully proceed forward. Very heady days, rough waters ahead of us, Chris. We need to make sure that we have a strong grasp of our foundational victories so we can move forward. That's what we're highlighting on this bus tour.
I got to ask you real quickly about that, though. You realize that you messed up about Paul Revere, don't you?
You know what? I didn't mess up about Paul Revere. Here's what Paul Revere did. He warned the Americans that the British were coming, and they're going to try to take our arms. So we got to make sure that we were protecting ourselves and shoring up all of our ammunitions and our firearms so that they couldn't take it. But remember that the British had already been there, many soldiers, for 7 years in that area. And part of Paul Revere's ride, and it wasn't just one ride, he was a courier, he was a messenger. Part of his ride was to warn the British that were already there that, hey, you're not going to succeed. You're not going to take American arms. You are not going to beat our own well-armed persons, individual private militia that we have. He did warn the British. And in a shout-out, gotcha type of question that was asked of me, I answered candidly, and I know my American history.
Well, I got to tell you, I wasn't sure entirely before I asked you that question, so I went on Google to make sure that I knew as much, and we both know now. But you know, look, everybody is asking, and I take you at your word that you wanted to celebrate America's history. But obviously, you're a player in the 2012 campaign. Has the response that you got over the last week, has it changed your mind at all as you make the deliberation as to whether or not to run?
It hasn't changed my mind as to whether I want to be a candidate or not, Chris, but the response that I've received along the trail, my family and I, from we the people, from people saying, please, somebody has got to be honest with the public and let Americans understand where our country is headed. These socialized big government takeover type federal government policies that are burdening our economy and really stalling any potential for growth and recovery in America. We've got to stop that agenda. Well, who's leading that agenda? President Obama is. We've got to turn things around in 2012. Whether it's me throwing my name in the hat or just supporting the right candidates, the response has been great confirmation of the need for real positive change in this country.
But you've always been really straight with me. After this week, and obviously you got a lot of attention, there was a big response, does it make you lean more towards running?
I tell you, the response I haven't interpreted as being about me, about being me as a candidate or a potential candidate. It's been about the message, Chris. Truly, it has. It's been about the desire of the American public to get back to our foundational beliefs, our values, free market enterprise, freedoms for Americans to make our own decisions instead of some elite, faraway government making the decisions for us. So it's not been about me.
On a
spectrum
where
the message.
the spectrum where 0 is I'm absolutely not running and 100% is I'm in the race. Where are you now? Give me a number.
Still right there in the middle, Chris. Still
50?
Trying to figure out what the lay of the land will be as these weeks and months go by.
All right. I want to talk to you about a controversy because this week, Alaska officials, as you well know, are going to release thousands of pages of your emails as governor. Are you worried that some of those emails could be damaging?
No, because, I think every rock in the Palin household that could ever be kicked over and uncovered anything, it's already been kicked over. I don't think there's anything private in our family. Now, a lot of those emails obviously weren't meant for public consumption. They're between staff members. They're probably between family members. So, I'm sure people are going to capitalize on this opportunity to go through 25,000 emails and perhaps take things out of context. They'll never truly know what the context of each one of the emails was or each one of the issues were that I was working on that day or in that time period. But whatever, Chris, it's like nothing surprises me anymore. We'll keep doing what we're doing. I'm going to keep going forward with solutions that I want to see applied to this great country, the challenges that we're facing, and things like that are going to be perhaps a distraction for others. They won't distract me.
Let me just ask you one follow-up in that regard, because one of your former advisors, Frank Bailey, has written a book, and in it he says, and he uses some of your emails because he was the recipient of them, he says that there were times when you were unethical, that he was told to write fake letters to the editor under false names or to spend hours manipulating TV polls by voting on the phone over and over again.
Those are complete lies, Chris, and I say it unequivocally that Frank Bailey has some ethical problems of his own. In fact, out of the 25,000 employees that I was in charge of, 24,000 in Alaska, and in our large administration and with a $14 billion budget that we were working on, heady things, big things we were working on, only one person in the entire administration had to undergo ethics training, and it was because of blunders that this individual, Frank Bailey, would engage in and result in. It was Frank Bailey, who's still under investigation today, but making money off taking private emails from somebody after having hoarded them for some years. It was only Frank Bailey who was ordered to undergo ethics training, so he's got some issues.
All right, let's finally take a look at the Republican presidential field as it stands now, because this week when you were in Boston, you took some shots at the unofficial frontrunner, Mitt Romney. You said that you criticized the individual mandate, the requirement that everybody get health care insurance in Romney Care with the reform that he instituted in Massachusetts. You said he's going to have a hard time attracting Tea Party activists. Do you think that there are some vulnerabilities in Romney as the frontrunner? How strong a frontrunner do you think he is?
Well, I don't think it's taken a shot nor negative campaigning or rhetoric to speak to someone's record. And it was a simple answer to one simple question about, do you think Romney will have a problem with the Tea Party movement? And I said in that particular issue he would, because a mandate coming from the big federal government when it comes to health care. And in Romney's case, of course, it was a state government mandating on the people what they should or should not purchase in terms of health care. That's going to be a problem, but of course he is already on the road to explaining why he would want a state government to mandate health care, as opposed to what I did in the state of Alaska, and that was usher in as much as I could strong efforts to allow competition and more private decisions being made between the healthcare recipient and their doctor or their insurance company. That's what I engaged in.
Let me ask you quickly,
and that's a difference in philosophy.
Let me ask you quickly about Romney, though. He says, well, it wasn't a federal plan, a one-size-fits-all plan. It was a state plan. Does that make a difference for you, or is the idea of government telling people you got to buy insurance, is that still the wrong principle, whether it's on the federal level or the state level?
I don't like local, state, or federal level of government mandating anything in our lives, in our families, in our businesses, unless it comes to saving lives. But I do understand where Mitt Romney's going with that. Obviously, he's a supporter of the 10th Amendment, and that's what's missing in this present administration, and is any respect for the 10th Amendment, for states' rights, and we need to get back to states' rights. But, on the local level, for instance, I opposed annexing in areas around our city borders, because I knew that if neighborhoods wanted to be a part of a city, well, they would mandate themselves in and invite themselves into a city. That's just one example of, even on a local level, how dangerous it is for a politician to start thinking they know more than that individual family, that individual business, and we, according to our own priorities, make decisions and mandate and dictate to them, local, state, federal level. It's not good.
Let me move on real quickly. I'm going to invoke the lightning round rules on you. Quick questions, quick answers. You would seem to be closest politically of all the candidates to Michelle Bachmann, Congresswoman Bachmann. You're both Tea Party activists. You're both social conservatives. Is there room in the race for the two of you, or would you split the same base of voters?
No, we have differences, too. I have many years of executive experience, too, and she has her strengths that she will add to the race. But, no, yeah, there's certainly room. The more the merrier. More competition, the better.
Finally, I want to put up the picture of the New Hampshire Union leader the day, and you can't see it there in Arizona, but it was the day after your visit. Your clam bake was the lead story and the big picture on the front page. And if you look way over in the corner there, you can see Mitt Romney's formal announcement gets a little tiny picture and a story on page 3. This is your favorite subject, but you got to answer it in about a minute. As a student and as a critic of the media, why do you think, Governor, that you attract so much attention?
I think there's a curiosity factor there still that's in play. I don't know, but I apologize if I stepped on any of that PR that Mitt Romney needed or wanted that day. I do sincerely apologize. We didn't mean to step on anybody's toes.
There are a lot of people who think that you love stepping on his toes.
Not his. I'll step on the toes of those who are making poor decisions for our nation. I have faith that Mitt Romney is one who desires to make good, sound, fiscally responsible decisions for our nation. I don't have a problem stepping on toes of those, though, who keep screwing up.
Well, Governor, before I screw up, I'm going to end this interview. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's always a pleasure to talk with you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you, Chris. And now it's time to make the soup.
Okay. I have a cookbook for you. Up next.